My friends, let's clap it up. We are back with the final deep dive of the 6 popular techniques that might be ruining your mix. Today, we'll be breaking down mid-side processing. We've also done parallel compression, side chaining, EQ matching, top-down mixing, and mixing in mono. Man, I do a lot of videos. One thing I want to point out about all the prior videos is each one has an extremely unique approach to explaining the technique, and this will be no different with mid-side processing. By the end of this video, you will have heard some amazing examples, and I promise you will learn something that you didn't know. So watch till the end. I really went all out for this one. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and I remember the first time I heard the term mid-side processing. I was like, what? It sounds like it would be the opposite of top-down, right? Another one of these terms that gets thrown at us while we're just trying to live our lives and mix a song. But as I dug deeper, I started to realize the value of mid-side processing, and now that I've been using it for years and have it under my belt, I can explain everything about it in detail using the 5 W's. The who, what, when, where, and why of mid-side processing. Speaking of which, it's hard for me to process how many subscribers this channel's been getting, so make sure to keep up the trend by subscribing, giving this video a like if you found it useful, and leave a comment if you have any questions. Although you shouldn't, because who, what, when, why, and where are already questions, right? Either way, let's hop into this. Make sure to watch the whole thing like I said, because there's some mind-blowing information in this episode. I think I'm gonna give my vocals a break and hop on a drum kit to help break this down actually. The first W, who? Who invented mid-side processing? Are you familiar with the Bloomline miking technique? It was created by Alan Bloomline for the purpose of recording a large stereo image that was mono-compatible. To do this, you needed 2 microphones that are bi-directional. Let's grab one of my favorite mics, the Rode NTR. Now these are bi-directional microphones. If I have the first one aiming off axis at the sound source, it's now recording the audio information in the front left and the rear right. Now, if I were to do this in somewhat of an XY pattern, this one is gonna be recording the front right and the back left. This is the entire stereo spectrum in a way that mimics the human ear. Do you get where I'm going with this? The crossover of what's being recorded from these 2 mics is the middle. Everything left over is the sides, mid-side. Then you pan them both 100% left and 100% right, and you have a complete stereo image. Alan Bloomline basically figured the importance of stereo separation out early on when he was working for Abbey Road Studios and EMI. And on that subject, Chandler Limited stopped by the studio a little while ago, letting me check out that Abbey Road EMI microphone, so make sure you check that video out. Alright, so we figured out the who. From Alan Bloomline's technique, they then expanded on it by aiming it at the sound source instead of off axis with a cardioid pattern. Let's pretend this is cardioid for a second. And then this 90-degree angle was recording everything that was on the sides. So with the cardioid pattern, it's picking everything up in front of the middle, and this is grabbing both of the sides, giving you true mid-side. This meant that when you recorded, you would truly capture the front of your sound source and the sides separately. You now have the power to determine how wide your source is if you use this trick that I'm about to show you. We're going to record mid-side, and I'm going to show you a way to increase your stereo image using phase. It's called the out of speaker trick, and I'm going to demonstrate this with a Slate ML1 as the cardioid middle and a Rode NTR for the figure 8 sides. Disclaimer, this will only work for stereo sources. It's a psychoacoustic trick, and if you play it on a mono source, it's gonna completely cancel out. On to the next W, what? What exactly is mid-side processing? To understand what mid-side is, we have to start with thinking about stereo. We all know that stereo is the left and right channel. Well, what about the audio information that is identical on the left and right? That would be mono, which represents the mid or middle and mid-side. So how about what's left and right? Anything that's different on the left and right would be considered the side in MidSide. One thing to always remember is the mid in MidSide has crossover into both channels. Things are always going to be louder if you pan them to the center. Let me show you an example of how powerful MidSide processing can be when using it to try and tame your low end.
All right, so let's go back to that example that I just did with the drums, with the out of speakers trick. And let's see what happens when we try a form of MidSide processing on it. So I have Howard Benson vocals, and I'm going to be using the width module here because, yeah, the mono low end feature here is a form of MidSide processing. Basically, what it does is everything under a certain low frequency, it takes everything below that on the sides in stereo and it pushes it all to the center. That way you don't have all that gook hanging down. It's really cool on guitars, also cool on vocals a lot of the time. But yeah, let's check this out. Yeah, that was actually really cool. The out of speakers trick is something I wouldn't use or go to on drums all the time, but in a desperate scenario where I only got a couple mics set up and I need to make something work and sound wider, it was really cool. And using it with this mono low end here was really nice because it took out all the gunk from the sides that was added that I didn't really want. Just always keep in mind that whenever you're using the out of speakers trick, that if it goes to full mono, it will completely collapse and null on that effect. So other than that though, it could be really cool. So, try it out, mess with it.
The third W, when? When did it become so popular? Well, we know when it started, back in the 30s with Alan Blumlein, but when did it become a buzzword term that you hear every time you go into a forum? The truth is, it's been popular for almost 100 years now. It's been used in radio, broadcast, surround sound since the 30s and in regular audio recordings for the last 50 years, but it was mostly kept on the hush. If we're talking about mainstream popularity, it rose to fame around 20 some odd years ago because mastering engineers were using this technique to get punchier masters. By eliminating the low end from the sides of the songs, they were able to get them louder, and everyone wants to hear a loud mix, right? Today, you can't go anywhere without hearing this term, and I will say I hear it used wrong a lot of the time. So that brings us to our next question. Where should you use it? Let me give you my favorite scenario that this can be really cool in. As I mentioned before, one of the best places to use it is to fix the low end on your mix, but specifically on the low end of guitars. Let's check it out in this example now.
Come on, like how could you live without that?
And that brings us to the fifth W, why? Why should you try this technique? Well, I feel like I just gave you a ton of reasons. As this is the close to this unofficial series, I hope you realize that no one is going to be able to fully quench your curiosity except for you. So the answer to why is because you're a mixer. We have no lives and nothing better to do 9 times out of 10. If these techniques seem scary, start messing around with them one by one and see which actually goes with your workflow. So we just went over who invented MidSide processing, what exactly MidSide processing is, when did it become popular, where should you use it, and why you should try this technique. Hold up. Did you guys think I was going to end this without comparing this whole thing to a famous wrestler? I'm not gonna lie, I can't really think of anyone. Vlad, can you just pull up a picture of a wrestler wearing a girdle? There you have it, MidSide processing. And remember, don't let any of these techniques be what is ruining your mixes now that you have an understanding of them. Also, don't let other mixers have the edge over you because you aren't familiar. We're all friends here in the audio world until there's a test mix on the line. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I'm out of here. Mic drop. except as engineers, we know I'm never really gonna drop this thing again. We all saw what happened last time in the clown video. Later.